There he is, the governor.
Sure show, you lead it.
The governor is there. Anyway, good evening, everybody. If you're new to this is Talking Cricket. But if you're an Ipswich Town fan and you haven't checked out our fantastic interview today with James Norwood, tell him about it, Gov.
Well, yeah, it's absolutely incredible. I got away scot-free. The cruncher was getting
absolutely battered everywhere.
Everywhere I was wanting to start the show with you just to make sure, just to check in. It's it's a call to make sure you're okay. You okay to do the show? Don't need me to step in. You know, being battered.
You don't need to hold my hand. I'm all right. I've got up off the ropes. I've had a standing 8 count, and I'm ready to go again. But we'll have a little bit. It's a little bit calmer this evening. We're talking cricket, Martin.
Yeah, we're talking defeats again.
Well, it was a good series. We'll get into that. We're going to talk about the women's Ashes Test match. Tim Bresnan retiring. We'll have a little bit about him. And also, I think Ian wants to talk about the under-19s, England under-19s, doing really well. So
sounds good. But no Wednesday Town talk, all right? I don't want any of that. Banned.
No, that's banned. But if you are watching and you're new, please hit the like button. He says it helps, that man over there. Also, share it with your friends, you know, and if anyone wants to get involved, either you can get in the comments here or you can drop me a message on Twitter. We have got a Twitter feed now.
We have.
At One Talking Cricket. So if you're not following it, please do so. Go to Twitter and hit the follow button. But I think other than that, I was still looking for a sponsor for the show. So anyone watching, anyone knows anyone, businesses, cricket clubs, cricket equipment, anyone wants to put a bit of money in, and then Martin wants to do a few. We can do some giveaways then. So
we can. And just to let you know, this is also going out live across the new Twitter account, so you can also watch us there this evening.
And will also be available in the morning on all good podcast platforms. So if you're going to work or you're still working from home, probably not getting away with it now with your boss, you actually have to go into the office. Stick us in your ears and give us a 5-star rating.
5-star review. Yeah, absolutely. And I will work on the intro. I do apologise it being Ashes talk still. That's because I was distracted with James Norwood today. But you have got 5 beautiful, smiling, delighted. Well, not delighted. There was another defeat, but fairly happy contributors. So
England have won some games. It's not going to be negative. It's not like the Ashes. You know, it's positive, Martin, tonight.
I'm looking forward to listening. And obviously, our regards to Terry, who can't be here. But with us, we have got Ian, Grumpy Neil, wearing absolute shockingly sugary stuff. Brandon, who asks us great questions. Rob, and last but not least, the man, the myth, the legend, Owen. And that's my cue to listen.
Good evening, chaps. How are we all doing?
Very well.
All good, mate.
Good, thanks. Very good.
Are we all in nets for the coming season?
Indoor cricket league. Some indoor cricket league. Played some of that. Very different.
Ian's been doing some coaching, I think. Have you been coaching tonight?
Yeah, I've been coaching our juniors. A bit of a rush to get here for this time, but it's gone reasonably well tonight. And we're our senior nets is Thursday nights for a couple of hours, so I'm still recovering from that.
I know the feelings how that used to be. So tonight we're going to talk about the T20 series, which was it was fantastic. I think we'll all agree. You know, some great cricket. England lost the series 3-2, but I think the best team won overall. I thought the West Indies deserved to win. We're also we'll have a look at the future of Eoin Morgan. Obviously, he was injured. Death bowling. I want to talk about death bowling because England are not very good at it. They nearly threw, was it the second game away? Saqib Mahmood, Lancashire's finest, had an absolute stinker, didn't he? Very lucky. But he's not the only one. So I want to talk about Chris Jordan as well because I think he's on his way out. Brandon, you might have him in your 3. Did you have him in your 3?
No, I didn't have him in my 3, mate. No.
We'll talk about that as well. We've got, I think, is it 9 to pick from? You've got to pick 3 bowlers for your T20 because there's a World Cup coming up, isn't there? Later on in the year in Australia. We're also going to talk a little bit about. We'll let Neil do this. We can talk about Tim Bresnan, Yorkshire's finest. Neil also wants to talk about the Under-19s World Cup. But what I want to start with, Ian's going to start us off, the fantastic women's Ashes. So it was the first T20 Australia won, and then the next two were rained off, weren't they? Rained out in Adelaide.
Rained off, that's right. And the format of the series is quite an interesting one because there are points available in all of the games in all of the formats. So what it means is that it's the Ashes is a combination of the T20s and the Test match, the single 4-day Test match, and the 3 ODIs. So Australia are 6-4 up in the series at the moment. So England would need to win all of the ODIs in order to win the series. So perhaps if there was a fifth day in the Test, it would have been it would have been interesting. They've had to actually shift this tournament, this sort of Ashes series, a week earlier in order to give the players a 10-day quarantine for the World Cup in New Zealand.
I think COVID rules have changed over there as well, haven't they, Ian?
Well, they have now, but at the time it was shifted. It was shifted through that, but there are some more old school fans perhaps that don't appreciate women's cricket, but I think the skill levels are very high. I think it's a mistake to compare it to the men's because I think it's a thing in and of itself. And there's some great players in the series, and it wouldn't be any surprise that England, who've been one of the stronger teams, are beaten by Australia because Australia have just got so many good players. Lanning, Perry, Mooney, Healy, and then they've got the youngster McGrath that came through, and she got 52 and 34 and a couple of wickets as well, sort of batting at number 6. So they've got real strength, and the game does go from strength to strength for women's game, and it's been a good series. And that albeit 4 days that where Lancashire's Kate Cross blocked out at the end, Jimmy Anderson-esque. It was great Test cricket, full stop.
If that had been a one-off test and with, say, the Ashes weren't at stake, I think England would have probably gone for that, wouldn't they? Because they wouldn't have had nothing to lose. But they knew, didn't they? If they lost that Test match, the Ashes are gone.
There's an element of that. I think that's correct. Yeah.
But it was Heather Knight, fantastic, 168 not out in the first innings because we were massively behind the 8 ball. Look, what happened to the men? Brandon dropped catches again on that first day. Brunt took some early wickets, didn't she? And then I think did we drop two catches? I think on that first. I think it was up to lunch, wasn't it? They dropped 2 catches.
Well, I think when you're playing on strips like that aren't in England, the chances are much less come by, aren't they? In England, if you drop a catch in the slips, you're more likely going to get one in a couple of overs' time. But when you're playing in, whether it be Australia or on some of those sort of flat decks you get out there, or in the subcontinent, you really need to take your chances. And unfortunately, as you said there, across both male and females, I think that our red ball fielding's gone a bit to the shit. But
so if you look at the scores, they got 337 for 9 declared. England were. They were 169 for 8, but then we had a fantastic partnership between Sophie Eccleston and Heather Knight put on exactly 100, 33 overs, so 297 all out. And then second innings, we had them 12 for 2, didn't we? I think, Rob, on that third day, and then it rained, didn't it?
Yes, mate. Yeah, it rained, and then that pretty much took out most of that day, which then meant it set up the game to be a bit of a declaration sort of affair, which Australia must be commended on how they set that up for us to have a go at.
So just before tea, they declared on 216 for 7. So we needed, what was it, about 260 to win in? Just on 260?
Yeah, it was, and what did he end up with? 245 for
244 for 9, and we were going so well, Owen. We had Heather Knight, another 48, Nat Siver, 58, Dunkley spanked 45, a couple of 6s in consecutive balls. They needed 45 to win in 10 overs, and they had 7 wickets left. And you would have thought at that stage it should have been a cakewalk, really, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I think it is, but I think it's one of the beauties of sport, isn't it, that these things are unpredictable. And I do wonder. I've seen a lot of criticism about how there's lack of opportunities for the women playing that side of cricket in both their domestic careers and international careers, where the pressure and mentality came into it a bit there. Sort of learning how to see these things out.
Yeah, I was listening last night, Neil, I think on the 5 Live Cricket Show, and they said Ollie Robinson, he's played as many Test matches in a year as I think England women have played Test cricket, and we can all say, look, it should have been 5 days. It should be 5 days. I think we're probably unanimous on here, and I think everyone's thinking now, like you say, fair credit to Australia, because they did give us a little bit of a sniff, didn't they? Just before tea, they're declaring, but you think any normal game of cricket, 45 to win off 10 overs, you got 7 wickets in hand. But I suppose it's the pressure, isn't it, that got to us?
Yeah, I mean, you can look at it from two perspectives. I mean, yes, it was. You can look at it from the declaration point of view, very, very sporting declarations. But without those declarations, as you say, if it was 5 days, would Australia have batted for longer and batted us out of the game? But still, a great example of women's Test match cricket. And I agree. I'm not sure why there isn't more. There should be more. Clearly, the skills are at a level now where Test match cricket and 5-day Test match cricket should be more accessible for the ladies. And just a great example of how Test match cricket can swing from one team to the other, opportunities. But yeah, the grumpy side of me would say that still Australia declaring twice at well over 200. It gives, England getting so close, it gives a little bit of a false slant on it, I think, a little bit. But in terms of an example of Test match cricket, very, very good and more to come, hopefully.
See, I like this format, Ian, You've got your 3 T20s and you play your 1 Test and they got 3. But it's a big ask now, isn't it, for England to win 3 on the spin, I think.
It is a huge ask because Australia are such a strong side. I know India are pretty good as well, their women's team, but they're probably talking the 2 strongest teams. I think there's 1 at Canberra and there's a couple at Melbourne. It would be great if England could win the first one. It would set it up. It'd be a bit of a disappointing if Australia win the first one. It would be phenomenal if they could do it and win those 3 games. It would be absolutely super for not just for England but for the women's game. But time will tell. But it's a huge ask to beat a strong Australian team whose attitude in the Test match was to, declare, play positively, try and play results cricket rather than just sort of bat us out of the game. So every credit to them. We'll never know what will have happened if there'd have been a 5th day, but I think most people think that there should have been a 5th day.
It reminded me a little bit of, do you remember the last Test match of the 2013 Ashes at home? I know that England were chasing a total in 60 overs or something, and I think we were getting close, and then the Aussies decided to take bad light, didn't they? That series. It reminded me a little bit of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Oval.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was the. Yeah. I call that the Ian Bell series because
your man was in. The Wizard was batting. Chris Wokes. I think that was his debut.
Yeah, I think KP got some, didn't he? That
game? They were slapping it about, and then we wanted to stay on, but they obviously took us off. Simon Harris there in the comments. England's DNA is to collapse under pressure. Rob, I think you could probably all agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, are we talking women's or men's there?
Probably both.
England, the country.
Probably both.
I'm sure we'll come on to that in a bit. I just wanted to flag up, Ian, have you seen their Australians' current record in 50 over games?
Men's or
women?
I don't know the exact figures, but I believe it's impressive.
I think it's 23 unbeaten in a row, so we're up against it.
That run's got to end sometime.
Absolutely. The other point, just going back to women again, if I can, is just to mention we all sat on here a couple of weeks ago, and I certainly said, we didn't. It was the preparation. We didn't have long enough. There's not even a 4-day tournament in England for women. To prepare them for a test. They literally go out of 50 over cricket into that. So they put on a bloody good show, didn't they?
So big shout out to it's Beth Mooney, plays for Australia, who broke her jaw, didn't she?
Yeah, we I had it on my notes last time that she was out. I think we mentioned it. That she was out.
Yeah, she was out of the T20s.
But she was back with a metal mouth or whatever situation she was in. But yeah, she batted well and with courage and did a good job. I found myself doing exactly what we talked about 2 weeks ago, which was staying up and late and watching it and getting up early to watch it as well. It was really gripping. So it had a good effect on plenty of cricket followers, I think.
Anyway, we'll do a quick. We'll go over to you now, Neil. You can give us your thoughts on Tim Bresnan's retirement and tell us a little bit about Tim Bresnan. Obviously, part of the Ashes 2010-11 Down Under. Good, solid cricketer. Then he went to Warwickshire, didn't he? But his main career he played at Yorkshire.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you asked anybody about Tim Bresnan, I think the answer, whether it be players or fans alike, would tell you he's a wholehearted cricketer. No airs and graces about him. Very straightforward. What you saw is what you got, and to be fair to him, went on to be very, very successful, and certainly in that I think it was 2010 Ashes was a very vital part of the England win. And just as I said, very good, much underestimated batter, decent hands in the field, and as I say, just a very, very good all-round cricketer. And it was, in a way, it was nice to see him leave Yorkshire at the end. I mean, it'd be nice to, obviously, everybody, as a Yorkshireman, it's nice to see everybody stay at Yorkshire and be successful. But I think it's always nice when people sort of go away and continue that success and show they can do it at other counties. And I just think he's just been a very strong advertisement for Yorkshire cricket, but also, as I say, to take that no-nonsense approach into the England team as somebody who was very down to earth and just a big sort of plus for English cricket as a whole, whether that be county cricket or the England national team.
Yeah, he was vital to us getting number one in the world red ball cricket, wasn't he? My favourite moment in watching cricket in the flesh, he was actually responsible for. The game we went number one when we beat India at the Oval was the first time I've ever seen cricket live in terms of, England and things like that. And I think Tendulkar was on 99 hundreds and he was on 94 on his way to his 100th hundred. And it was absolutely like you couldn't hear your mate speaking next year because the Indian fans were so loud with Tendulkar in, and then Bresnan wrapped him on his pads on 94 and got him LBW, and then I think Swan mopped him up and we went number one in the world. So he's always going to have a moment, I suppose, in my life in terms of that one moment just standing out in terms of just that atmosphere in cricket. You get it quite a lot in football, don't you, when a last-minute goal goes in or things like that. But those sort of moments when they can just suck the atmosphere out with one delivery and the sort of a new atmosphere, I suppose, is born just out of the silence of all the Indian fans and the jubilation of English fans. So that'll always be me.
It's a good comment here from Simon Harris. Ian Bresnan bowled a heavy ball.
He did, yeah. The archetypal. I think Martin Saggers back in the day used to be referred to as bowling a heavy ball. In fact, we went to Old Trafford actually at a luncheon when Lancashire played Warwickshire in the county championship. Obviously, we won the county championship with Warwickshire, but he wasn't fit and he wasn't playing. And I'll whiz through this story, but I dropped Jezza off and the wife at the sort of coffee shop that you can sort of go into and then you can go through with your ticket. Whilst I parked up, and I met them in the Point because we're in the Point that day, and they were going through, and Bresnan was having a coffee, and then he tried to get into the ground, and the security guard wouldn't let him in because he didn't have a ticket. And my lad Jezza had to say, "This is Tim Bresnan. This is Tim Bresnan." He had a Warwickshire tracksuit on, so he managed to sort of convince him. He was nearly getting his phone out to show him, Ashes games from the past. But yeah, he did bowl a heavy ball. I think he was a wholehearted cricketer. He used to give it a little bit of a biff as well. And I think he'd been struggling with injury. And I think, as he said in the statement, is not reaching the standards that he can. So it'd be interesting to see what he does, what his next chapter is, whether it's coaching or something of that nature.
Anyway, happy retirement to him. I'll come to you now, Owen. So last week, Simon Harmer, he's been selected for the Tour of New Zealand for South Africa.
Yeah, I wasn't joining in the celebrations because I think that's him for the summer now. Yeah, I think it's fantastic, isn't it? It's great that he's been recognised at that level. Is where he deserves. I think he's one of the best spinners in the world. So yeah, fantastic for him. As an Essex fan, I worry that's going to leave a hole in our bowling attack if he becomes a.
Got Matt Critchley from Derbyshire. He's not a bad leggy, but yeah, Harmer, fantastic because he was going to try and qualify for England, wasn't he?
That was a rumour. So with the whole post-Brexit stuff and his visa worked, he's only allowed in the country so many days a year. I think that, and he qualifies English passport or British passport. Yeah. But I'm not sure what went wrong. They decided to go back to the South African route. But I think you've obviously made up terms with the cricket board there. They've been a bit of a mess recently, haven't they? But yeah, it's a shame. But I think Essex will be fine. It's just he's a big player in that dressing room, isn't he? If you're losing Tender-Scarter, if you lose Harmer as well, that's quite a big part of the leadership core. And with a very young, if you think Essex has quite a young squad. So.
Okay.
Let's hope he does well, but not too well. Rob, can you give me an update on the England under-19s against Afghanistan? Because it's looking like we could be going out at semi-final stages.
It's just gone mental. They've got a lad called Sales who's bowling, and he's gone. First ball, the over, no ball, was hit into the air, caught on the boundary. They're all celebrating, but it's a no ball, so they keep running. Next ball's over chest height, no ball that's gone past the keeper for 5. Runs, and then a 6 over long on. It's it's current status is they need
overs. 4.4 overs, 0 for 40. 4.5 overs, 0 for 47.
Yeah, drop down the fine leg, mate, and give me a spell, please. 23 off 18. 1 wicket will change it though. Yeah, we shall see.
24 to win with 4 wickets remaining. Interesting. Right. Should we talk about the main event then? England versus the West Indies. 5 T20s in Barbados. I was driving home from, I can't remember what football match. The first T20. By the time I got home, I think England were about 50 for 6. I didn't really want to turn the TV on, Rob. I thought, here we go again. And we got well and truly hammered, didn't we, in that first game? 103 all out. Windies 104 for 1.
Yeah, we were completely in the bin. And we got a few late runs. I think Jordan and Rush got a few. Holder got 4 for nothing. And then they whacked it around and won. Game over. Let's start again. Not a lot
that
to
game
say.
was the game where he bowl about 8 balls, Neil, to Eoin Morgan. He couldn't lay about on him, Holder.
Yeah. I mean, it was the story of the series from a Holder's perspective, wasn't it? You know, he just hit lines and lengths, and his variations were superb. And nobody could handle him. Let's be honest. You know, it wasn't just in that match. He set off in that first game how he continued pretty much, I think, apart from maybe 1 over where we climbed into him.
Yeah, I think that was in game 4, wasn't it? When Moeen went a bit crazy with some 6s.
Yeah, but other than that, I mean, his figures were exemplary, and
even the last game though. After the last game, although he ended up getting a 5 for, his first over went for 17, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the last game he was 5 for 27. So we'll get
started off 0 for 17. Bizarre.
Yeah, but so England 1-0 down. You come to game 2. England 1-7, 1 for 8. Absolutely cruising to victory, Ian. And then a 9th wicket record partnership between Shepherd and Hussain of 72. Talk to me about some death bowling from Saqib Mahmood in that last over.
It was less death bowling and more dead bowling. It was pretty ordinary.
I think he got away with a wide as well, didn't he, in that over?
It was dreadful.
There was a wide that should have been called, so they could have actually tied that game or even won it.
I mean, it's safe to say that Saqib Mahmood had not had a good experience. it's a development opportunity for him. I don't know what else to say apart from the fact that he was crap. But it's disappointing. Taking nothing away from the West Indies, because I think it wasn't just slogging, was it? I mean, the lad Shepherd can hit a ball. Wow.
Yeah.
Some of those might be still travelling. But Hussain as well, what a good player he looks. I know England were very much, shuffling the pack because like both teams are looking at the World Cup in Australia in October. But the West Indies had a bit of a churn of players as well. You know, they've not got a particularly settled side. They've had some older players that have retired recently. So, they're looking at various players and some tremendous hitting. It was great cricket.
Just a quick message on the screen there for you, Owen. Kent's first game, Simon is a Kent fan, is the Battle of the Bridge at Chelmsford. Darren Stevens, who I think I've given a little bit of stick on this podcast, he says 5 wickets incoming. They won't be able to get it off the square in April with Steve.
Well, as long as the rest of the team only get 1 run, doesn't really matter, does it? So,
but England victorious by 1 run. Do you think, Ian, though? Like, I know they batted well there at the end, them 2 lads. There was no pressure on them, was there? Really?
I think they played with freedom. Yeah, there was. We didn't bowl well. We needed to bowl better. I think we were putting too many balls in the slot. It was a poor showing from England. Full stop.
Spinners were good though. In that game,
can I comment on the Saqib Mahmood thing?
Yeah,
I was watching with my son, and I actually turned to him, and we almost said the same thing. It reminded us of the Ben Stokes final over. Ball in the same slot over and over again, and there was no thought, no plan B. It was, this is how we've been instructed to bowl. This is how we're going to bowl. And there was times during the whole series where it felt like, and I think we almost had this discussion when we were talking about the Ashes as well, when we were talking about the coaching. It's almost like there's times where the players are going out and saying, this is how we've been told to play. This is how we're going to play. Regardless of the situation, regardless of the circumstances, we've been told that the analyst says bowling here at this stage of the game is the best way to do it. Well, hang on a minute. He's just hit you for 3 sixes. Are you going to carry on doing that? It just felt like it was almost robotic cricket. And I know they were saying about this Eoin Morgan way of playing. Oh, we're very positive. If one man gets out, the next person is going to come in and carry on being positive. That's all well and good when the circumstances allow. And I'm afraid at the minute, what it feels like is that we're following instructions rather than being clever cricketers at this moment in time.
We can touch on Brandon there because we were going to go about death bowling, but we might as well talk about it there because I see the stat. I think we are bottom of the pile, isn't it? 16 over 16 to 20.
Considerably as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think one of the problems you have on some of these occasions, like that one, I think it might be a case of if we've won the game, I think England do sometimes limp to wins, don't they? Even if it's legal balls and you win, it's a little bit embarrassing on how we can let leads slip. But I think with our death ball and I think our seam attack, none of the players who are in the squad other than Topley would probably be my alternate after this series. I don't think any of them would get in my starting T20 11 if I had everything to pick from. If you look at the people who have done well for us, sort of bowling at the death before this series, you have the Woods. I suppose Woods more of a middle order bowler, isn't he? But you have Chris Wokes who's bowled well with T20 in the past, and then Jofra Archer before he had his elbow problem. But I think just going back to the second game, you mentioned the spinners a second ago. I think the spinners done well for us through the whole series. I think the 2 games we won, we wouldn't have won without Rashid and I think Ali actually underbowled himself. I think in the 3rd game when we lost.
Even in the last game, him, Ali, and Livingston bowled 3 overs.
Yeah, and I think that might have been a case of him maybe being captaincy might have swayed that in those 2 games where he hasn't bowled out. If Morgan was playing, would he have thrown Moeen the ball more? Because Morgan does like going to Morgan does like going to Moeen early and often, doesn't he?
He bowls with the power play, doesn't he?
He sometimes opens a bowling if they've got a left-hander. But I think I think the positives from our bowling unit can be Topley up top and our spinners in the middle order. I think there's clear depth that we're struggling for on the bowling side. I think there was a good story that when Garton got his wicket, but he went for 50 odd, didn't he? That game, other than that one ball, he went around the park. So it's something that England, I don't think, have to worry about too much. They're very young players that we've tried in this series outside of Jordan, I suppose you could say, or inexperienced at international side, but they have time to develop them with who we have not available in this series.
Go on, Rob.
Wicket for England. They picked up a wicket. It's 19 off 11. The reason why I wanted to chip in is because for the 48th over, England have gone. Sorry, the 49th over, England have gone to a spinner at the death, which is what England should have done in that T20 game because Livingston and Mo both had an over left, didn't they, as you mentioned? And I'd have gone to a spinner. And they've given the young leg spinner the ball, and he's gone googly first ball, straight up in the air, wicket, cheers, turn the game.
The positive with Livingston is that he can bowl it, he can spin it both ways, Livingston as well, can't he? And I think he's a clear sign of really good development under English coaches. I think he was brought into the squad initially as a sort of lower order batsman, and his bowling has come on so much since last time I've seen him. And I think he's also one of the only few that are probably in our strongest 11 if everyone's available, isn't he, Livingston? So.
Owen, talk to me about Chris Jordan. I think he's been a good servant, I'd say, for England over the years, but he was 10.46 runs economy rate for the series. I thought he had not a great series. I know he got some runs in a couple of games, 20s down the bottom of the innings, but I thought he's death bowling, which he's very skillful at. I didn't think he was at his best.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Also, I'm wary about these specialist bowlers when you start bringing their batting stats. That's a lovely extra. It's not really what you're there for in the team form, what you're concentrating on. But you don't become a bad bowler overnight. That's my thinking. And I'm really hopeful that when it comes to World Cup, we'll backfire on forms. I'm a big fan of his. I like watching him in the Blast. I think he's a great bowler. I think there's a theme throughout all of the criticisms about the entire England team, including the women, is it seems that we structurally have a problem that, it seems that all our players are misfiring at the same time, which either is a massive coincidence, which could happen, or that something is seriously wrong with the England camp that is causing these problems to happen. Because we're having the same, every podcast, same conversations about one or two different, about key players all failing and not achieving. And Jordan seems to be just another one on that list in the last few months, which is a real shame.
Yeah, talk about misfiring, Neil. We go to game 3 and the West Indies rack up 2-2-4 for 5. High score of the series.
Yeah, I mean, it was bedlam, absolute bedlam, and Rodman Powell. I mean,
fantastic innings.
He's another one who just you could say, let's face it, you could say about any number of the West Indies batsmen, couldn't you? They're absolute. And what impressed me was that it was the sheer power hitting. Even if it was slightly mishit, it went for 6. Whereas some of the England hitting in chase, we were only hitting 4s. And it was that sheer power hitting from the Windies that really boosted them during this innings. And as I say, it was non-stop. And we're talking about the England emphasis of next man in carries on from.
I think did he hit 9 sixes? Did he hit 9 sixes in that innings?
It was just relentless.
10. It was 10, was it?
Yeah.
So look, Moeen Ali Moeen Ali, Roy, Banton, 8 sixes. That was the most in 5 games, and he's hit 10 in one game.
Yeah, as I say, it was just there was no stop to it, and as I say,
another wicket in the chat there.
Ooh.
Yes, mate. He leg spinner again, googly, caught on the boundary, chat running
like
around.
This is like a live watch along. What's the score now? What do they need?
213 for 8. They need 14 off 8.
Ooh, pressure's on.
Sorry, did I say 14? I meant 18. 18 off 8.
18 off 8.
Because they're bowling the spinner at the end.
England favourites. Yeah, so back to game 2 there, Neil. 2-2-4 for 5, and then England. Banton looked good, 73, didn't he? You knew man at home this year. Phil Salt, 57, but we fell. We were short, weren't we? 19 runs.
I'm a big fan of Banton, and people at my cricket club know I'm a bit of a Banton fanboy. it does disappoint me when he flatters to deceive a little bit. I think there's a huge talent in there, but he needs to be more consistent. And Salt, I hadn't seen that much of Salt before a couple of seasons ago, but his development is really impressing me. And as much as it pains me to say it, I think Lancashire have got a bit of a player on their hands there. And at least going to Old Trafford to watch a T20 might be entertaining this year just for watching him, if not supporting Lancashire. Sorry, Ian.
Yeah, I think Salt's probably one for the future, isn't he? And he's probably going to struggle to make the squad for the next T20 World Cup. But look, we can talk about Morgan in a minute because I think he's probably going to be in the team. But Salt came in there, he got 57 off 20 odd balls, wasn't it? And he looked really good. And then when he came in that last one, he came in I know you say he comes in too far down the order, but then you look at the order, we've got a lot of batting, haven't we, really? So where are you going to play him?
Yeah, and he was just sort of on a bit of a hiding to nothing in in his other innings. But on debut, it was a tremendous knock, and I think that the World Cup squad, the T20 World Cup squad, I don't think it's all nailed on at the moment, and I think that the summer of cricket that we'll have might make decisions on people like Salt and Topley, and just to see how they get through. It's going to be interesting to see what happens and who gets selected. But I don't think, and I think the other factor in that is the Silverwood factor, because if Silverwood goes, whoever comes in, rumoured to be Stewart and Strauss, if the rumours are correct, they might have a different view on things as well. I mean, I think as we chatted on one of the last on one of the last shows that going back possibly to a national selector situation, which the West Indies have got with Desmond Haynes recently coming in, might actually take a little bit of pressure off the coach and improve the coach-player relationship. But I like Phil Salt in all formats. I think he's a real talent, and
he's in your test. He's in your test squad for the Windies.
He was in my test squad. Yeah, I had him as opener.
Scores, Rob.
I don't say game over, but I think it's 17 off 6. He's bowled a stunning over, absolutely brilliant.
That should be game over. So the third game there, we had 3 debuts, didn't we? We had Salt, we had Garton, Harry Brook. Brandon, talk to me about Harry Brook.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that. I think our chance sort of went in terms of winning the game when I think there was an over where Brook had maybe 5 balls of the strike, and he really struggled to get anything on it. And when you're needing 12 and over, it only takes 3 dots for the game to slip away quite quickly, doesn't it? I think we were a little bit unlucky in that sense that the way the strike fell. I think when Salt hit one of his sixes, the last ball, one of the overs, and I was sat there hoping that he'd just taken a single, so we had the full over next over to go with the way he was batting. I think Garton and Brook both struggled a little bit. Brook certainly never looked comfortable. I don't know whether he got one out the middle at all when he was batting. Garton, again, he came in. I think he missed some cut shots and then he got out. But it's pressure, isn't it? Scoreboard pressure. If you're needing 12 and over, you have to go some straight away. You don't have any time to get in. But I was really impressed with Salt. But I don't know whether any of them would be near my squad with all the batting we have coming in.
Yeah, because obviously we're going to go back to Stokes. He's going to come back, and Johnny
You've
Bairstow.
got Milan, Bairstow, Butler. So you have.
Root could be in the shake-up. I don't think he'll get picked, but he's.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think we'll get on to it later. You said with Morgan, but there's clear alternatives if Morgan is to.
We'll talk about that in a bit.
The side, but.
So game 4, Owen, England 193 for 6. Jason Roy 52, Moeen Ali 63, and Neil's favourite player scored some runs in this game. James Vince, a little bit of an enigma, isn't he, Owen?
James Vince. He's not a player I've really ever warmed to. It probably puts me outside the box a bit because he's really popular. But I'm not a big fan of his batting. I've never he's never in my team, even though the stats obviously say otherwise. He should definitely be in there, but he's not someone I really like, and I would happily leave him out. I don't think he sets the place on a light. And Brandon made a good point earlier about how the amount of batting we've got. I would rather see one of the fringe players given a chance, actually, given that we should be working towards that Australia World Cup in the end.
Yeah, spot on.
Go on in, Neil. I'll let you have your say about James Vince, because I know you're coming off your long run.
He's just not someone that has, and Owen's right. The stats do point to Vince. You know, his performances in the Big Bash are always fairly consistent. His domestic form is always consistent. This innings aside, I have to quantify it with that. Whenever he's played international cricket, he just seems to get found out. And I know Brandon was touching on Harry Brook there, and again, maybe a bit of Yorkshire bias coming in. And I know on the flip side, Harry Brook had an atrocious Big Bash league. But somebody like Harry Brook, who has shown so much potential, has one game and gets discarded, albeit not a great game. Vince plays every game, I think it was.
Yeah.
Gets runs, but just gets out in the same stupid ways. And we're not just even talking T20, even when he plays Test cricket.
I think that's the problem, isn't it?
Ways.
And he always looks so good when he is batting. Like some of the shots he plays, you watch it and you just think, my goodness. But he's just Ram Prakash 2.0, isn't he?
Yeah, it is. And it's just infuriating. And I've got nothing against the guy because he, as Brandon said, he can look a world beater. But how many chances are we going to give him to just throw it away? And I just, no. Same as Owen, I've never warmed to him. I just think there are other people who could do just as good a job, basically.
Yeah.
England win then, Rob?
England win, never in doubt, mate, never in doubt.
Great stuff, that.
So we're into the final. When is the final? Is it Sunday?
It's got to be the weekend, isn't it? Anyone else? Not sure.
No.
Australia or India?
I'm not sure.
Is it Australia who have the ambidextrous spinner?
Not sure, Brandon.
Oh, no,
I know Sri Lanka have had one in previous.
Yeah, there was
fairs.
I think it is Australia. I think I did see it, and then they have that long-haired captain who it looks like he should be surfing somewhere.
So we touched on James, which we don't really need to go that, but he got some runs, and he got 50, didn't he, in that last 55 in the last game. Probably should have seen us home to victory. He was in that game, and then he got out. But yeah, England won 159 for 5. I've wrote down here. We had some good death bowling in that game, Ian. Game 4.
Yes, it was a better performance, and I think I know we've touched on Jordan. He seems to be the mood in the room seems to be that he's on his way out again. I know we're going to talk about this, but he does have that experience, and I think there's 3 of them that went for just over 7 combined, so it's just over 7 and over, which is pretty good. In T20, it was a much better show. Much better.
I think with Chris Jordan, I think he is a little bit unlucky with going back to the World Cup crunch when it was just me and you. I said that I didn't agree with the tactics that we clearly were trying to put in place when we were bowling. I think that Chris Jordan's strength, which we saw in that 4th match, he's good with Yorkers.
Very good.
And he's good with slower ball Yorkers and just bowling it wide of the off stump. And I remember with the T20 final, all we were doing was bowling length. It's not his strength. And he was going around the park because we were doing it. I think if we bowl wide off stump, especially with in the West Indies, this series just gone past, there was always a boundary which was considerably longer than the other. And if you're asking at the points of the game when you're normally bowling at the death, you're asking middle to lower order batsmen to hit you over the top, over cover or over point.
He did it at grade 6. What game was that? Was that game 3 when he hit one over cover, Jordan, when he was batting?
Yeah, it was just back at point, was it? But I just think that you've got to play the percentages sometimes. And some of these lower order batsmen, if you bowl at anywhere in their arc, they're just going to swing. And if you bowl it outside off stump, and they have to play a bit more of a cricketing shot if you want, but they're not going to be able to do it. I'd love to see a number 9, like I'd love to have seen Hussain in that match we won by 1 run. I'd love to see him try and go over point inside out. Wouldn't be able to do it. It's just I just don't like the tactics, and I didn't like it in the World Cup final, and I didn't like it throughout this whole match, other than the 4th match when Chris Jordan bowled an over of really good Yorkers, which Pollard ended up blocking out, didn't he? So that's what I'd say. I think it's a bit unfortunate not bowling him to his strengths.
Pollard, Ian, hasn't he got a fantastic beard? What a beard that is.
Yeah, at least it's not grey.
Not yet. Anyway, Pollard, in the 5th game, he batted quite well, didn't he? He got 41, Powell 35, 179 for 4. We touched on it before, didn't we, in that game? Moeen Ali, 3 overs. Liam Livingstone, 3 overs, Ian. Why did not either of them complete their 4 overs?
I think it's sort of
2 for 17. Livingstone was off 3.
Yeah, I mean, I think as colleagues on the call have mentioned, if they're bowling to a plan, especially where you've got a captain who's coming sort of late to the party, I'm not too sure he would be the answer. By the way, if Morgan is unavailable. I think some of the ways that Moeen Ali got out in this series.
I was actually going to touch on that in a little bit because he got 63, didn't he, in game 4? Game 5, he sort of scratched around and was out for 14. But a couple of the early games, I think it was the 3rd game when the slower ball and he just lost it.
Yeah, doffed it up. I mean, he's an enigma, isn't he? I think they're having a look. I think there was a plan with the selections and perhaps the way that they were doing things, and maybe Silverwood sort of putting his foot down a little bit because maybe it's the last throw of the dice. But I think maybe they're bowling to plans, and sometimes the on-field captain's got to change it. But I think this is all part of the planning and preparation for the World Cup. And I think because preparation has been such an issue with the Ashes and bubbles and all of this kind of thing, I think they've said, right, how are we going to prepare for these games coming up? I think they underestimated the West Indies. I think a lot of pundits did. I think a lot of fans did. I think the West Indies have been tremendous, and I think that's good for cricket. But yeah, it does seem crazy that there are people still with overs to bowl who would have been more effective potentially. Yeah, who knows?
But we did sort of look. England were 162 all out. But I think if we're looking at the series as a whole, I do agree with you, Ian, that we probably did underestimate them. But I think it's really good for cricket. West Indies, we want to see them strong, don't we? I know Test match cricket, we'll see how we get on because we've got 3 matches coming up. But T20, it was strange, wasn't it? Because when I was watching that final game, there seemed more England fans in the stadium until the end. Where did they all come from? Because as they were doing their lap of honour, they were everywhere.
Yeah, and it's funny because we've got some. He's actually back now, and he's going to have a couple of weeks kicking around here, and then he's going to go back and watch the Test matches. The lucky lad, but he was saying how obviously there's a strong England presence there in Barbados. Be interested to see what happens. I think Antigua's going to be popular as well. Well, and I think is it Antigua, Barbados, and Grenada the tests.
Yeah.
But yeah, there seem to be more England fans in there than West Indian fans, which might be something to do with the cost. I don't know.
Jason Holder, do you think since he's had the captaincy taken away, do you think that's sort of freed him up a little bit, Ian?
He's what a tremendous player he is, but what a great advert for the game, and certainly West Indies cricket, somebody that they've needed. I think it has. I think he's able to play a little bit freer. I mean, it's crazy to think that it wasn't so long back that he wasn't being considered for T20s. And he's listen, whatever the format is, a good cricketer is a good cricketer, and they could probably turn their hand to anything. But certainly, the way that he's got his wickets, I think they said on comms that he was bowling test match lengths kind of thing. But a good ball's a good ball, and he's been tremendous. But the West Indies have also, I think, what I've seen in this series is a little bit more desire, a little bit more focus, better fielding, and much better catching. I think their all-round game has been far more improved than I've seen of late, where they've it's gone a bit pear-shaped for them. But I think Desmond Haynes coming in, they've had a little bit of a reorganisation, and again, this could be a stepping stone for them to get back on the the upper echelons of the tables there, international tables.
So we've done the series review. We'll move on now, Rob, to the future of Eoin Morgan. I think there was a story in the Telegraph. Personally, I think he'll probably do up to the T20 World Cup, and then I think he'll go. Do you think he's still worth his place in the team? Because he hasn't got a lot of runs the last 2 years when you look at the stats.
I think he absolutely is. I mean, you look at historically, people like Mike Brearley and even Michael Vaughan, the way they lead sides, he deserves to be in the side. He is the single biggest reason probably that it's turned around in the way that it has. For me, he could happily rock up to a game and bash 80 or 40 balls, and he brings the best out of the players. You look at the performance people put in, he's a great leader of men, and I think, one swan song here, lift the trophy, and then give him the one-day job when he's ready, or otherwise he'll be in the skybox, I guess.
Is there anyone on here who thinks he should step down now?
I think the difficulty with that question is who do you replace him with? I think we had this conversation.
I have the answer to that.
Conversation with Joe Root. I know Brandon's going to say Chris Wokes. No,
I'm not. No. Close. Here's my advice.
No, in all seriousness, I think who would you replace him with? I think you're right. I think he will focus on the T20 World Cup, and they might just bow out after that. But I can't see them changing it.
Go on, Brandon. Who have you got lined up?
I think that the way that it's gone with his Red Bull stuff, I think it might be near the time when the Jos Buttler project with Red Bull stuff comes to an end. I think he's been Morgan's vice for a long time in this white ball stuff. So I think I'd probably give Jos Buttler the captaincy in the one-day stuff, and I wouldn't have him playing any Test cricket. I think it doesn't appear like he enjoys Test cricket either, to be brutally honest. It might be because he doesn't score many runs. But I'd probably go Jos Buttler. And I think we have such an abundance of good batsmen that, I mean, going back to the World Cup, there were debates whether Dawid Malan, who was number one T20 batsman in the world at the time, would get into the team. And I think that his form with the bat is a little bit worrying. And although we've got a tail that can go down a long way, it does stop you from chasing these big scores that you might be chasing if someone is struggling for 15 balls and then gets out. So I think that I would keep him probably till the World Cup. Hope that he recaptures some form with the bat. But I think that has got to be the succession plan that I'd probably go with. Is I'd go Jos Buttler, and I'll say to Jos Buttler, you stay with the white ball stuff because we've got so many other options with the gloves and Test cricket and middle order. Simon
Harris in the comments there, he says Sam Billings. Now, I'm not letting you have that, Simon, because you are a Kent fan. It's the only reason you are saying Sam Billings. I didn't think he kept wicket very well, did he, through this series? I think he was pretty average. I think he's just going to be a squad player, Billings, I think, Rob, isn't he? He's not. I don't see him as a first 11 player. He's probably going to be a spare wicket. Well, then they've got Johnny Bairstow, I suppose, haven't they? They've got so many people who can keep wicket, haven't we?
Yeah, you could add Banton to that list of potential keepers, and Salt, and even Roy. You didn't ask us to do an 11 for the World Cup, but final.
Not yet.
I've got. I haven't got millions
yours if you've got one. Tell us all.
I've got one as well. Yeah.
I think it picks itself. In all honesty, I think you go Butler, Roy at the top, Stokes, Moe, Morgan, Livingston, Bairstow, Archer, Rashid, Wood, and Mills. I think the only one that anyone's contentious about will be Mills, because the rest of them pick themselves.
What do you think to that, Owen? Would you have Tyrell Mills in your team?
Yeah. Well, until researching for this podcast, I thought he was an Essex boy. So I was about to say yes, well, for Milnor anyway, the next Suffolk. Yeah. But I found out he's a Yorkshireman. So there we go. That's changed my opinion.
No, you don't want him in.
Well, obviously, we have one Essex player, haven't you? And I don't count anymore because of the way he slacked us off. So I think as looking at death bowling, because I know I was doing research earlier, he has got one of the best death bowling averages, economy rates in England setup. So I think I agree that there was people saying we can't go completely on stats, but you can't really ignore that for me. And I do think that as long as his back holds out, so that's why Essex had to let him go, but because we're using him too much. But yeah, I think he's certainly someone that is worthy of a consideration of their place in the team. It shouldn't be written off straight away.
So now you two have given us your 11s. So I sent it to you, I think, yesterday. It was on from the Wisdom Cricket on Twitter. If everyone was fit, which 3 pace bowlers would you pick in your T20 side? So we got Mills, Wood, Saqib Mahmood. Probably not. Chris Jordan, Chris Wokes. You'll probably have him in yours. Jofra Archer, David Willey, Reece Topley, or someone different. We'll start with Neil. Who's your 3 and why?
I've actually changed.
Oh.
I had at the time pretty mirrored Ian. I think we said Archer, Wood, and Jordan. I actually think, and I think Rob was spot on with that 11, other than I would go Topley rather than Mills, purely on the basis that you've already got Wood and Archer in there if you're saying that's your first choice and they're all fit. I think having Mills in as well is 3 out-and-out pace. I think Topley, with his height and is more of a swing at pace, offers something a little bit different to what the others do. I think Mills is a bit too, albeit left arm, a bit too samey as Archer and Wood. So I would go Archer, Wood, and Topley.
Well, so you've gone left armour there. What about David Willey?
As much as I love David Willey as an honorary Yorkshireman, I think he's coming to the end of his skills now. He's my daughter's favourite cricketer, and don't get me wrong, he again swing early doors, but I just think Topley's height as well offers something extra.
Yeah, fair enough. Brandon, you've gone. Who's your 3?
Wokes, of course. Why would you not have Chris Wokes in the squad? I don't understand.
He's been found out. He's been found out.
Not in white ball stuff. In white ball
the World Cup's not in England. It's in Australia, so he's in trouble.
He does well in the white ball stuff anywhere. He's fine. Wokes, Wood, Archer, and yeah, that'd be.
Is that? No. What about you, Rob?
Well, you've had mine already. I just want to say a couple of things on it. So. Well, here's a stat for you. Saqib Mahmood has now played more T20s than Archer. There's a stat. I think Mills, just coming back to you, Neil, Mills, he can bowl a 93-mile-an-hour rocket or bumper, but he also bowls brilliant change-ups and would be... He wasn't used enough at the death. I think the 4th game, before he was left out, he only bowled 2 overs and might have been a better option at the end. That's where I see him being used for those brilliant variations. If we go back to the T20 World Cup a few months ago, he was literally our player of the tournament until he got injured. He was absolutely awesome carrying us with the ball. And he's got that X factor, and I think that's why I'd have him in. And everyone else agrees with Wood and Archer, don't they? Just get Archer fit, look after him, wrap him up in cotton wool, roll on the World Cup.
Owen, who have you gone for your 3?
Well, I've assumed Archer is injured because there doesn't sound and repairs anytime soon. So I've gone for Wood, Mills, And then I'm giving David Woolley another roll of the dice. I like his style.
Two left arms.
The way you pronounce Wokes is different to the way I do. Strange.
Ian.
Well, I think Wood and Archer seem to be nailed on for everybody, but I had gone with Jordan for his experience. However, if we're looking at the I can't remember what the remit was now, but what the brief was. But if it's looking towards the T20 World Cup in October, I think we probably need to see what happens in domestic cricket and international cricket during the summer. I think Topley I do like, but I think he's got to prove his fitness.
Yeah. He did say he was on about. I seen him the other day, and he was on about Red Bull. He's on about Test match cricket. Topley can't see that.
It would be tremendous if he got back to Red Bull cricket, given the number of stress fractures he's had.
Big arse.
It's an amazing story that he's come back to play any cricket, never mind international cricket. So that's testament to him. But yeah, it's difficult. I mean, I would go with Jordan simply because, I mean, we did see him bowl at the death and see what he can do. I think Owen's absolutely spot on. We shouldn't be picking bowlers because of the strength of their batting. You know, it should be simply on the strength of their bowling. But in that 39, I think it was that he got, you know, he does hit a good ball and he's handy to have in the tail. But I think he's got the experience and the skills. He's probably in the autumn years of his international career, I would suggest. But I'd be interested in what other bowlers do and how they maintain their fitness and form throughout the summer.
Do you think any bowlers would be worth? If you thought any bowlers worth like maybe having a word over summer going, you need to keep yourself fit. Like maybe don't go and play in the 100, don't go and play in other tournaments. You'll need for Australia.
One thing I was going to say is I think one name that maybe is a very, you know, ambitious, I suppose you could say. It's a bit out there. What about Sam Curran as a left armer? No, he's been really good in franchise cricket. You have the option of if you want a left hand right hand combination with the bat, you can throw him up there as well to bat as a left armer. Anyone?
All depends on his fitness, I suppose, and with his brother, because his brother would probably in the shake up as well, wouldn't he, Tom?
I was just going to say, as long as you don't mention Tom Curran, then I'm not going to argue with you. But if you mention Tom Curran, then I would start to argue with you.
Just Sam. Sam Curran. Love him. Love him as a cricketer as well.
Tom Curran is Jade Dernbach Mark II, and I'm not sure which one's worse.
I spot on agree with that. But yeah, I just thought Sam Curran is a bit of a left field option. Could be one. I'd probably have him in.
Jade Dernbach, Neil, was actually on TalkSport 2. I was driving home the other day. Whatever you do, if you can avoid TalkSport 2's cricket coverage, I would urge you because what's his name? McKenna.
McKenna, yeah.
He just shouts too much. When anything exciting happens and the six gets hit, I thought he was commentating on a football match. They've got the test series as well, haven't they? TalkSport 2. Yeah.
It pains me to say it, but I think Gareth Batty's quite good.
Where's he? Is he New Surrey coach? Gareth Batty.
I think he's coaching now. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just going to go Wood Archer, and I'm going to go Reece Topley, left arm, something different. And I'm not worried about his batting at number 11. We should have 10 decent players. He could come in there and might need a single here and there. But what else? Any other business? Anyone? Anything else? Anyone wants to bring anything up?
No, I think you mentioned the Under-19 World Cup. I mean, it'd be interesting.
Any players who advanced their claims for a regular spot in the T20 team before we go?
I think I'll just jump in first. I think Livingston. I think probably most of cricket people probably had him in as a bit of a shoe-in. Decent. I mean, he was good in that. Dare I say it, 100. But he staked his claim, especially with the ball. He was a bit ill, wasn't he? He didn't play the first game, looked rotten in the second, but he does look like a bit of $1 million player, and I think he's there to stay for a long time. no one else really. I don't, like you said, I think Banton had a go. He'll probably be in a squad. Billings did bits, Salt did bits, and the other couple we've already mentioned, reduced their value somewhat. So
I think Salt gets some fame for me after this series.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think mine would probably be Topley.
Yeah, fair.
Topley's
No, I
mine.
missed that one. No, agreed.
Topley, Livingston, Ali, Rashid would probably be, and Roy obviously will be the only ones that probably get in my favoured 11 out of the ones who've played.
Quick comment in the comments there for you, Owen, about Peter Siddle.
Yeah, I spotted that from Robert.
Rob Barnsley gone to Somerset.
Yeah, not that bothered. I think we've got a fantastic seam attack. We've got, I think 3 of the best county seamers, not the best seamers in the country, but county seamers. You've got Aaron Beard coming through the ranks, with two other great players. We need a middle order batsman. We're missing that last time, that Bapara Tenduscarter. I know the new signing it can fill that gap slightly, but we really need a good number 5, 6 batsman. For our second overseas spot, that should be good. So about
good youngsters, though. Got some good youngsters, haven't they, coming through?
We have, yeah, but they are very young. They're literally like 19, 20 years old. I know Lawrence did it, but they are very, very young if you're trying to mount a championship winning season.
Anyway, I think we're done. 1 hour and 6 minutes. Thank you to Ian, to Neil, to Owen, to Rob, to Brandon. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the like button. It will be out in the morning as an audio. So if you're going to work, pop us in your ears, give us a 5-star rating. We'll be back. It'll probably be early March. We'll do a series preview. I think we start on the March the 8th, I think is the first test match.
8th to 12th Antigua.
Yeah, we'll do it in the week leading up to that. But thank you for everyone tuning in, and we will see you all soon. Good night.
I am also accepting invitations to Chris Woke's fan club. Anyone's welcome. Anyone's welcome.
There you go. Hit that button, Martin.